Good. And then Facebook. Pause.
Oh, I see the lag over here. Okay.
Oh, like the delay, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's super normal.
That's really meta.
Yeah. It's weird. You get used to it though.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. And that's me looking at myself, recognizing the lag. This is like Inception.
Okay, and this will be Twitch. I paused that video, but chats will be here.
Okay.
And chats should be here, I believe.
And is this something I can interact with, or no? Like, I'll just be reading, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just gonna focus. Like, if there's anything, you can kind of just cut into it and just talk. So
Cool.
If it does get active, sometimes the questions will come in, or like saying hello is always cool.
Yep.
So all that's fine.
Word.
Okay. So I remember I got to talk to you for like maybe 20 minutes once. I took your house class maybe like 2 years ago.
Is that Jeanette Neal's? Like after Jeanette Neal's, right?
Yeah,
I remember we were in the street.
Yeah, and just talking. You're just always someone that I just respect a lot, and I really appreciate, and I've felt there's so much that I can say, and it's like I don't know. I'm just really where would I begin? I do have notes, but I'm kind of just going off the dome here.
That's cool, man. I feel like I'm gonna feel the same way. Like there's this. I was telling Anthony yesterday how I really enjoy teaching outside of Boston to places that I have to drive to.
Yeah.
Because I have that time by myself in my car in silence to just think about, stuff like if I'm going to a class, like stuff that I'm going to be teaching. I try to visualize like how it's going to go. Yeah. And it's like a really rare time where I get to really kind of reflect and just be with my own thoughts. And it doesn't happen a lot. You know what I mean? And I can't remember where I read it, but I read some testimonial of someone who had shifted career paths, and they said that an important part in that was taking some alone time to just really think about what they were going to do, because that's like a big decision when you do stuff like that. Yeah. But they said when they had the alone time, they weren't like thinking about checking emails or an appointment they had to go to or whatever. They were just like, this is me. So driving up here today, I was feeling the same way. I was like, we're getting really excited for the interview. Yeah. So I don't want to diverge.
No, it's all good. It's all real stuff. Let's see, where do I want to start? Okay, so I don't want that memory to slip. So
Word. Specific. Yeah, we'll both be taking notes today.
Okay, so I've been really, I'd say for like a while, I've struggled with certain, like just my mindset. And I remember the last like hardcore like public thing that I remember tagging like mad people in. I like posted a dance video. I tagged you in it. Like I tagged a handful of people that I like really respected. And it's different today. So I sorted through all of those things, and so this is sharing a little bit about myself now, and then I'm gonna try and tie it back to how I feel about you, so that it makes more of an impact.
Yes.
So I had conflicts because I started to, I guess, get away from what I knew was true to me. So I'll give an example. So at 16 was when I really started my dance journey, and I wasn't aware of anything around me. I didn't know there was no scene, no dance studios in existence. Like
That's how it starts.
I just didn't know. Yeah. So once I found out about it, it was really cool. So I knew even at that point that I wouldn't be like this huge thing. Even it was kind of an ambition a little bit, but as time started to progress, I was like, yeah, like I don't really see myself making this like a full blown out, like I'm gonna be a phenomenal dancer and like one of the strongest choreographers of all time or whatever.
Right.
And then I started meeting like eventually like you guys and stuff, and I had more like of a view of like, oh, there are just certain people that I'm drawn to, and I'll always give examples when I talk to people, because I was in this place where people would see a lot from me, and I put it on myself. I project that like, yeah, this is what I want, and so obviously they're gonna project that back. And so when I started seeing people like Shaquan and like Kaylee and stuff, right? There's no comparison, like bring myself down or anything. It was more of a realization, understanding that like I'm like, they're gonna go far. Like I just know it. I'm like, it's in them, and that's what they want. And I'm like, I don't see that for myself. So I knew that, but for some reason, a part of me kind of like kept wanting to go to that level, like something close. And I started to get lost in the noise of the community.
Yes.
As a collective, and that started to get really hard. And because when we talk about dance, talk about training and getting good and practice, and I'm always told by my peers like train. I'm like, yeah, okay, right. And then train with the friends, and then eventually like freestyle started coming in to the picture, and then taking more classes and just going to take class for the sake of taking class, and basically like trying to fit into something that I felt like it was something that I needed.
The extra,
yeah,
going to the extra level.
All those things. I'm not saying that stuff's bad, because it's not.
Right.
It's just, it didn't feel organic for some reason. And so I started questioning all these things, and then I was also teaching at studios at the time, and I obviously I've been in a crew since forever.
Right.
And so just going back between all those three things, I'm learning different stuff, and I started having conflicts, and I started noticing, I'm like, oh, like I'm not really as happy teaching at all these studios. And I'm like, why? And I'm like, oh, like when was the last time I like made any choreography for myself? I'm like, that's kind of why I enjoy that part, right? And so I went from like almost 16 classes and dropping it down to 6.
Significant.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, what, like the reflecting thing, like having time to do that is usually over vacation.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you get that time, and you're all of a sudden you're like, I have ideas.
Yeah. So over vacation and other things, I got to ask myself like why do I feel the way that I do, and I realized that when I put a lot of effort when I create something, just matter what, like even if it's simple choreography, I'm really mindful of what I give to people. Right. I don't want to just be like,
this is all right, we gotta make something.
Yeah, I'm so mindful, because I think long term. I always think long term what I can give, and what may be important to throw in there, whether it's like a music thing or like I'm gonna challenge them a little bit, and then give them things that they can probably flow with, whatever. And so I would do that process, and for every studio that I taught at. But I would see a different return, which was fine.
Everyone's gonna absorb it differently.
Yes, very differently. And over time, I just started to see like, oh, I'm like, I put in like mad effort, like 120%, but it's the kids kill me sometimes. Like they don't give me almost. It's like I have to be like I have to baby them.
Kids make you teach your ass off. Can I say that?
Yeah,
Can I
yeah.
say
No,
this?
you can swear
Okay.
whatever you want.
Mother. You got some fans, by the way.
Okay.
Looks like Teresa is a big fan of your teaching. Hello, Teresa. Hello, Julia.
Oh, hello.
And Visit?
Oh yeah, Visit.
Visit.
Yes.
Yeah. My last name is Bjerke, so I'm very conscientious of like how I pronounce people's names. But I am also a teacher.
Yes.
Of dance and of taekwondo, and the thing that I think a lot of my friends that I know through those avenues, and also outside, like people looking from the outside in,
Yeah.
they're like, Sean, like how do you always have so much energy all the time? And that's not entirely true. There's times where I'm like, I need a timeout like everyone else. But the thing is, though, and you hit it with kids, is you give so much energy to kids, and it can be like a coin flip on if they like take it or if they just kind of deflect it off to the side.
Yeah.
But the kids that really do take it, like when you see it, you're like, oh, it like warms your soul.
Yeah.
So it's for me when I started teaching kids taekwondo, for example. You have to really, and it's the same thing with like businesses. You have to build that no trust factor with them, because if you just jump in, regardless of who you are, they don't know and they don't really care. You have to develop relationships with the kids, and that is the initial challenge: is making them buy into the Kool-Aid that you're selling them to drink.
Yeah.
And once you can get them to trust a little better, like they know that. If you're yelling at them, it's in their best interest, and they're doing something bad. But you're actually, it's not yelling; it's more like guiding. Once they can buy into that, it's amazing what you can extract from kids, and also like how it recharges you.
Yeah.
You know, that goes for adults too. With adults, it can be easier, or I don't want to say harder, but just different with adults. Because with adults, we have so much experience. That's what we have over kids.
Yeah.
And we always draw on those experiences when we're making decisions about things. So, for example, adults that take my dance class, maybe they're in their 30s. I actually have a student that's 72. She comes to my class almost every week, and she's in the front. 72 people. You're not too old to start. But they have so much experience on success and failure throughout their lives that it's really easy for adults to question themselves before they even start something. Whereas kids don't really have that. Kids, it's like, can you fly? And they're like, yeah. And it's like, all right, show me. And they're like, and they kind of think about it, they try it, but that's what I like about kids, is that there's that, with most of them, there is less of a resistance to new ideas. Adults sometimes take some time, but once they can get into it, then because they've gone through those experiences, they know the process. It's like, oh, I should not be amazing at this right off the bat. Like, there is going to take some time to invest in myself. So, yeah, man, kids.
No, they're great. I'm so grateful to them because they've taught me so much overall, from how to better break things down as a teacher to just being a good friend.
Yeah.
Like, teaching me how to listen.
They teach you how to be a good friend. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm taking that. Taking notes.
Yeah, they're great. And so making that observation for me at the time, it was realizing that because I put so much time into that stuff, I almost felt like I didn't have time to put into anything else. That's what it felt like. Because it pretty much became like a full-time job, and like wanting to put as much effort as I do into the creativity. And if something doesn't work, I'm like, how do I better communicate to this specific kid, and what activities do I have to try to make things. So like it took up my life, and then like the dance group took up life too. So it's just those elements. And then if I was taking class, so all great stuff. I just think everything has a time and place. So from my mind at the time, it just wasn't popular. Like, it just wasn't good.
It got to the point where it was like a little overwhelming.
So when I was able to walk away from a lot of things, and I do that a lot. Like not like that, but like I'm realizing that the more I let go, the more I start to understand who I am.
Yeah, you're reevaluating.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was able to now focus my energy and creativity in other places that I need to, so I feel more full. So that's kind of like the gist of that. And the other thing that always plays in my head is there are very specific people so this is where like you come in, very specific people that I look up to, and that I respect, and it's like really intuitive, like beyond like logic and like that my interactions with them, it's always been intuitive. So when I first came across, it was con art, obviously.
Yeah, that probably back in what, like 2012-ish,
Something
2013.
Like that.
Yeah, it's been a while.
that was like whatever about all of that, and like you guys as a group really stood out to me. And I was just like a fan ever since. And then I got a chance. I don't remember how this happened, but I went up to one of your guys' rehearsals. It was a closed rehearsal.
Yeah. Did Tariq kind of, he might have sent that out?
Yeah.
Like, I know there's one season where he had the idea of just reaching out to people that we were connected with to say, hey, come watch a rehearsal and just kind of see how we get down.
Yeah.
And I remember you coming through.
Yeah.
I feel like it was at Green Street.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was in the small room.
Yep.
That taught me a lot, and then that set off a bunch of things a long time ago to like really be ambitious about certain stuff. So it was a good insight because I only knew how I ran rehearsals. You know what I mean?
Everyone, yeah. It's always different, and whether, you know, for better or for worse, whenever you get to see the methods that other people use, it's always going to be like, oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah. And it can be both ways, right? It's like, oh, that's really inefficient how they're doing that. Yeah. Or they're not really reaching that person. But it could also be like, oh man, they got a lot done.
Yeah.
You know, and that like just talking about con art very briefly, I feel like that's why I've been on con art since 2012, and Tariq started it in 2011. And now we're both co-artistic directors. He's the executive director, but I feel like I've stayed on con art for so long because that's kind of how I roll. I tend to function over a long period of time in different. Yeah. I like to invest.
That's good.
But it's easy to invest in because it is such a productive feeling environment that we're getting a lot done, and when I hear feedback from you and other people about like, oh, the set that you guys did was really impressive, like the way that you were moving people around or the choreography was really cool. That's the reminder like what we're doing is a good thing. You know, it's inspiring people, it's reaching people, and the fact that we're productive and efficient in creating that work makes it easy for me to make the investment. Like I don't wake up thinking like, oh, do I have to leave con art like this week? Like there might be weeks where I know you were talking about when you're creating choreography. Sometimes it can be like, oh, I gotta like make something else. I gotta teach it. I think everyone goes through that to some extent, and it's a matter of what we're doing to keep ourselves stimulated and inspired on a personal level. Yeah. So when you fill all your time with just like teaching and just rehearsing, there's not a lot of time for you to kind of have that moment like, oh, I saw something cool in a YouTube video that's going to make me think about my next the next thing I choreograph, the next thing I practice. Like I want to get into that. But if you don't have those inspirations, it's really hard to stay like hungry. Yeah. You know, so I'm a Libra. It's all about balance.
Yeah, I believe in that 100%.
You gotta have some balance.
Balance is so important. That's something I learned. I feel like I really got down now. It always changes. Yes. I'm aware of.
That's the balance.
Yeah, that's the balance. So I'm better aware of it now, and I can get into that later. So getting into all of that, so like since that time, so at 16 I had this revelation of like I want to start this thing one day. Yep. Which was SFC, and I also noticed that also came from whatever it was. I was like I'm more drawn to artistic people. I was in high school, so I was just like, that's cool. I'm like, oh, like their personalities just have a little more something. Yep. Then everyone else is kind of just going through life or just like partying at the time. Like that was literally it. Yeah. And then you just have like the ones who are different, art like singing or like doing band or just art of any kind. And I was like, yeah, I think they're all great people. And some of them have gone to do amazing things. And so that's just kind of been in my head. And I started creating this subconscious list in my head of people that pull me in. I don't know what it is, okay? And so you're one of those people.
I appreciate it. Hey, Jamie. For a second, I thought that said there's a house dancer in France named Mamson.
Mamson?
And I thought that Jamie just said Sean is the Manson. I was like, Mamson's pretty dope, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, Sean is the man. So that's always been in the back of my head, and I would tell myself. And so I wanted to, make SFC and have this whole vision. Basically, it was supposed to be like a huge entertainment company with like artists as the face with like a charitable component. So that was kind of like the baby idea. It would evolve over time, experience, practice, ton of failures, whatever. Convention was an accident. Yeah.
The SFC convention.
The convention was like, that came purely out of like...
Pretty dope accident, man.
So I was just like a sub thing that kind of just happened. I was like, yeah, cool. But along the way, I started to realize, and I realized this year, beginning of this year, I had a lot of personal revelations that I feel like are really important. And one of those things was I felt worthy. I had brought this up to a friend of mine. We went to high school together. He's like an entirely different person today. He started a holistic health business center thing, and I got to see him fit. Like, he physically just looks completely different from what he used to be like, and so we got to vibe and do all these different things. And I didn't meet him this year. Or not meet him, but I reconnected with him last year. But this year I was like, like what am I doing? So February I was really trying to figure out like, what am I doing? And I can get into why that became a bigger question. I'm probably gonna forget.
That's a good question to ask ourselves.
And so I had that, and everything kind of just started to fall into place. But one of those things was I felt worthy of a lot of people that I looked up to. Because when you don't, it's a different game.
Yes.
So I brought up to him. I was like, hey, I really enjoy what you do. I love what you do. I respect it, and I want to help. Like, this is what I know, and I know I don't know like everything. And this was like video editing and marketing and stuff. I was like, I like this stuff, and I haven't poured everything into it yet, but I'm like ready to go.
Nice.
Whatever that means, and then he was like, dude, that's all I needed to hear. And I was like, whereas like for me, it's always like I must obtain a certain amount of something before I feel good enough to be like, hey, we should work together.
Do you remember? So the excuse me, the flyer the blue flyer that you put out for these,
yes.
Like I have our like our strengths, our weaknesses, our aspirations. I think one of the weaknesses or adversities, I'll say adversities, that I wrote down was imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And for people that don't know, imposter syndrome is essentially when you might be responsible for something or doing something and you think that you're not equipped to really do it. So for example, like what you just said, like getting into video editing, if you all of a sudden were like, I want to be a prominent video editor and do a lot of this work for people, and then you start to do it and you're like, man, I am like nowhere close to the professional videographers that I know or video editors that I know. Like, how am I going to ever be on that level? But everyone starts like that, and we have to just remember that the real reward is like the process that we go through, not necessarily the result.
Yeah.
So if you realize you might be right in a sense where, oh man, I don't know if I'm the right person to do this.
Yeah.
At that very moment.
Yes.
But if you realize that, you'll know that you need to take the steps to get up here. And that's your approach. That's your mindset. That's going to stay with you to always be thinking of going up here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I have to be cognizant of that myself, because there's times, like right now I'm working on a video project where I'm creating online dance content. You shall get it. But I'm creating it. And, I started off using my iPhone, and I'm like, all right, I could this is passable.
Yeah.
But I realized right away, I'm like, you know what, the audio is a little, the lighting, And one of my buddies who does video editing actually reached out to me, and like he saw me post something, and he's like, this is great. Can I tell you how to get some good mics for it? And it was very, he did it in a very supportive way.
Yeah.
Versus like, yo, the sound sucks, dude. So in doing that, I was like, oh, like that's something that I should focus on. And even though right now at this moment, it's not the quality that I want, he's given me that next step. So I went out and I bought a microphone off of Amazon that I can use now for cheap. And we talked about Anthony up in New Hampshire yesterday. He volunteered to do some video work for me. So maybe if the planets align, you'll have some Aimless Focus sponsored videos coming at you. So we'll see. We'll see, man. But imposter syndrome, it's real, and it's tough. It's tough to acknowledge. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. It's easy to acknowledge, but it's tough to navigate around initially. But you just have to acknowledge that everyone starts from somewhere, and they're gonna get somewhere if they want to. Even if you realize that's not the way. You're gonna get somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's life.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. I didn't want to look it up. I was like, I'll just ask Sean what that means. Imposter syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I'm not trying to be like somebody, but it's yeah. I forget who I heard that from. I have a business consultant, a social media business consultant. Because right now, I don't know if people know, but I'm full-time dance now, or I'm full-time teaching now.
And I was like, wait, really?
Yeah, I got laid off back in October, and it was sudden, but it was a blessing in disguise, because I had been considering for a while I wanted to do a career change, and and this goes into the imposter syndrome.
Okay.
I didn't have the courage to really take that step on my own to say, all right, I'm cutting this out and I'm going over here. So I maintained that 9 to 5, 40-hour work week on top of all the teaching and rehearsing and choreographing on top of that. So you'd have a 40-hour work week turn into maybe 70 or 80 hours of work, plus all the prep time for things like that. Yeah. And as you know, that's very draining.
Yeah.
But eventually, my company kind of made the decision for me, and unfortunately, a big chunk of the company. So I was like, this is the chance. This is my chance. I have no beef towards them. I mean, the company, was probably some decision making that led to that particular decision, but they helped me and my wife through, when she was sick back in 2016, they helped me stay stable through that. And you mentioned how you've been on a dance crew pretty much since your start, right? That crews are an important support system. Sometimes you just need someone not to do anything for you, but just to be there to be like, hey, you want to talk? You need to say anything, or even just take your mind off it. You go to a rehearsal and you can leave all that stuff over there from outside rehearsal. You walk in and people are just like, hey, let's dance, let's get to work, let's get, and that can be enough support. It's not even conscientious support.
Yeah.
It's just being in that positive space where you can block out the negative stuff. You can put it over there for later and just focus on stuff that recharges you.
Yeah.
To deal with the negative stuff, right? So that's that balance. The negative stuff inspires us to pursue more positive experiences. Too many positive experiences makes us feel really comfortable. So then the flip side is you can get comfortable and it's hard to deal with adversity. So
yes,
it's not that you want bad stuff to be happening all the time. Yeah. But when it does, you're equipped to respond to it because you already have some tools in your toolbox. I went way off. Support system. Support system. So yeah, when I started getting into my own business, I there was this business consultant on Instagram. Her name is Ashni Amfuko, and she would always comment on a lot of my house dance video posts. I didn't know who she was. She was just someone that always was commenting. And it wasn't like thumbs up or 3 fire emojis,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
it was like actual feedback on what she saw and how it made her feel. And then when I went to her page, I'm like, oh my god, she's like she's like an online media strategist.
Yeah.
So I started talking to her, and she was like, yeah, I'd love to work with you and help you out. And one of the things she talked about is imposter syndrome. Like, she said, you might not have been in the game for as long as these guys that are in New York or LA or who, like, people doing their thing, but just know that me watching you, I see that she called me a unicorn. She's like, you're a unicorn. You're very unique, and you're like, I would totally take dance lessons with you if I was in your zip code.
Yeah.
She lives in New York.
Okay.
So I was like, ugh. You know, whether or not that's like, you know, part of it is probably, you know, her coaching.
Yeah.
But also, I'm like, I believe what she's saying, because she's building that, I mentioned earlier, like that know, like, trust factor by talking to me and reaching out. So that's something that's helped me. Again, I understand that imposter syndrome exists, but I don't let it keep me down. Like, it exists, and then the goal is like, how do I work around it? How do I work around it? How do I make it motivate me to be better? So, yeah, talking.
No, that's great.
That's what cold brew does.
That's amazing. That was a lot. That was a good a lot, though.
Yes, yeah.
I have like so much for you.
I'm here for it.
Okay.
Can I say something that
Yeah.
something that you did that inspired me a little bit?
Okay.
You did something. I went when you were advertising this. I think I went to your Facebook profile just to kind of stalk you a little bit again, just to catch up. And you did this thing with your featured photos.
Yeah.
You know, that grid of 9 photos on Facebook.
Yeah.
And they were all little kind of mini advertisements.
Yeah.
For the stuff that you do. And I clicked on like one of them. I'm like, this looks fun. And then it's a whole description of like what that particular service entails.
Yeah.
I was like, that's like a really aesthetically cool thing that also made me find out more information. So I did that this week, and I made my own little grid of 9 photos with a lot of the services that I do.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the Vathana inspired social media plug. So I want to thank you for that.
Oh.
Because I thought it was really cool.
Tight.
You never know who's watching or what they're watching.
That's amazing. Thank you. Fire. Okay, I'm glad. Okay, so with that, and this was more apparent before, where I also was like intimidated by a lot of people that I looked up to. I think that's like a normal feeling. But eventually I learned to like overcome that. It's like, we're just people.
Yeah,
You just have to keep telling
that's
yourself
important.
that. Yes.
Yeah, when you can have that connection as people,
Yes.
it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's helped a lot. So having that realization of like feeling good enough and stuff, and just seeing that there are certain peers that would reach out to me and would want to do something, or maybe I would prevent myself from doing certain things with people. And it was always, I didn't realize that, like me saying like, oh, it's not the time yet, or I'm not ready, just literally came from like, I just feel like I haven't done anything. Always kind of telling myself that, hence the wanting to strive to do things.
Right.
And then running into the wall.
That strive for change lifestyle that you live. Oh!
Thank you.
Yeah. That's like when someone graduates college and you're applying for jobs and your resume is
Yeah.
you don't, it's like, why would anyone take me?
Yeah.
But sometimes they just need to see that drive is there.
Yeah.
That's what they want to see. Then they can mold you.
And I think I don't regret anything.
Good.
I just want to put that out there too.
No regrets.
No regrets at all.
Yes.
But I guess fast forward to today and feeling good enough, and just continuing to have very specific people on my radar. So it's like it's literally this weird like subconscious, like I may be going throughout my day, but your guys' voice or thing or whatever just pops in. Like, Sean,
that's awesome.
Or like whatever, you know. So it's
that's
like
awesome.
when I see that, I gotta check in on. If you get phased out of the algorithm, but I'll check in and be like, oh, like, because that's a real thing. The algorithm is rough.
Yes.
So check back in. I'm like, yes. So I got really stoked when I started to see you do online things and posting things specifically about that, and like the stories are like qualities like going up. And I did see the nine. I was like, oh, has that always been there?
Yeah. You're like, that looks familiar.
I'm like, oh, dope. This is like a thing. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get excited whenever I see just people in general doing anything, but when it's someone that I like really look up to or respect, or I know who's gonna do good things, and I see that, it's like, yes.
I appreciate it, man. And it's hard to like you just when the algorithm phases you out. You see so many people, and I saw Stacks just joined in.
Yeah.
Like talk about someone that's doing stuff.
Stacks, bro.
My goodness, man. I know, like I feel like we both kind of pat each other on the back a lot, but dude, he took someone threw the dodgeball at him,
Mm-hmm.
and he caught the dodgeball, and he turned it into like 50 dodgeballs, and was just like throwing it. Like he's doing great things. So you don't always get to like reach out and either see people or talk to people or connect with people at the moment that you're thinking. Mm-hmm. I heard Sean saying stuff to me in the back of my head, mm-hmm. But it's when you do it, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah. Like
we're just chilling in the basement the day before New Year's. Yeah. And this is fun. This is like the most fun I've had. I mean, I've had a good week.
Yeah.
But this is legit fun. So thank you for reaching out and asking me to even do this.
Yeah. Right. I'm happy you're happy. You're having fun.
I see Thorn too. What's up, Thorn?
Yeah, like,
are you working?
Yeah, he said, "What's up from work?"
Yep. Making those egg rolls, best egg rolls. Go to Thorn Lim to feed your need.
Yeah, I always say that.
Yes.
I'm trying to get him to like we talked a little bit about like him and food and like trying to maybe do a food blog or something.
He's gonna be they're launching a food truck.
Yes.
And why am I forgetting the name? Egg Roll Cafe?
Oh, yeah,
Egg Roll Cafe.
Yeah.
It is Egg Roll Cafe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming to Boston, I think, in maybe the spring. So I'm gonna be like, I'm not employed. I'm gonna be #1 fan. Sneaking up, getting those steak and cheese egg rolls.
Yeah, that food's amazing.
Yes.
So I guess fast forward more to today. I'm just really in this position of, and I can get more in detail about that, but just giving, and being in a place to do it completely authentically and have a lot of energy to do it.
Yep.
So when I think of the people, so I think of like whatever it is that I know that I can do to help put you on whatever you're doing. And it's like the more tags that you see and stuff, I'm like, just feeling that worthiness in myself I'll also translate into that, which is weird, but it's like my truth. And so I'm doing that more with people like in general, anybody, but when I really see someone progressing, I like to share that because I understand the impact it makes on my audience.
Yeah.
It's
and in 2018, soon to be 2019, that I know we can come down on like social media as like, oh, it makes people less social, but if you choose to, and it's it's like it's a climate change or a paradigm shift. I just use paradigm shift in a conversation, where you can have social, like legit social interactions on social media, and I'll use Stacks as an example. He put on this, or he hosted this workshop recently where he brought me, Tariq, and Snoopy to come teach. And he made a flyer for it, he made an event, and the four of us would like just take turns just like sharing it and making little videos plugging it and just getting the word out. And if you are someone that happens to follow 1, 2, 3, or all four of us, and you see that we're all kind of patting each other on the back and like giving people shout outs, it's like, they're good with each other. They're buddies. So you already have that mindset going in, like we're going into a really positive environment where these guys, it's not just, you probably experienced this with SFC, the workshops are amazing, by the way. I like there aren't any bigger workshops that I know of in this area than those. But you might get people that are like, I'm here for so and so. Okay, and now I'm leaving. But like, I would say that 95% of the people that came to dance with us that day took all 4 classes.
Yeah.
And these weren't like simple, easy classes. Like I think I had a video somewhere of us doing like farmers.
Yeah.
And like stuff in a cipher, and people were sweating and breathing and dying, but like they're all smiling.
Yeah.
Dying and smiling. New hashtag. And it was just, I think that those overlooked little interactions and connections that we did on social media leading up to that set the tone for us to create that environment. And like it's a hell of a tool that Instagram and that Facebook's. Yes. I know I would see a lot of people doing their business stuff in the past where they're just like posting content, and sometimes it's not that I don't like it, it's that I might see it at a point where I'm not thinking about it. So I'm like, I don't need this today. Yeah. And I know I've been doing a lot of that lately, so I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid right now, but you have to kind of trust that it's like people are watching. Yes. And that it's impacting someone in some way. And that workshop was a testament to that. Everyone just left with smiles on their faces and feeling good. And he did a free performance, Stack and Styles themed performance later that night. It was like an improv themed show where he just pulled people out. And speak of the devil, Elmer Martinez, who just joined in, Stax asked him to do an improv spoken word like reading just off the top of his head, and he had Tariq freestyle to it. Tariq is known for his choreography. Yeah. I know I've partied with him, and he's a dope dancer, he's a dope mover. I've never seen him freestyle in like a performance setting. Yeah. He like murdered it. We were in this it was like a poetry slam. Yeah. And that was like one of my favorite things from that show because it was so unique, it was so spontaneous, and the environment that we were in catered to like, hey, what's this like crazy idea that we're about to see? Like everyone was just down with it. So Stax, like bringing it back. Thank you for hosting those Stack and Styles workshops and the improv performance and getting us involved, because that was another soul recharge. Yeah, man, let's do it again. Let's do more. Let's do three-pronged Lowell, East Boston, Cambridge.
That'd be tight.
Collab.
What's up, dude? Just talking.
What's up, Elmer? Elmer, you going to the New Year's Eve party tomorrow at Black Market? Whether you are or aren't, I'm going. So I'm excited to dance to house music all night and into 2019.
It's a house.
Yes, it's a house event. There's an event space called Black Market in Dudley Square in Roxbury where they do different events throughout the year. They did a house festival in September. It was really well attended by what I thought was really cool, like multiple generations of people. So the main crowd that I think was connected to the organizers was maybe a little bit an older crowd, like middle-aged people that grew up in clubs when this stuff was becoming more prominent. But you saw the generation after that also getting up and dancing, and then some of my students came out who also span many generations. They came out to experience it, and I saw some of them just like going off because the atmosphere caters to that. Yeah. You walk in and it's like boom. So I'm excited to do that again tomorrow night.
That's tight. I'm pumped. That's gonna be a good time.
Yes.
Sticking out. So yeah, just to reiterate that. Okay, so I guess I'll get a little more into detail.
Yes.
About what I'm doing, so that
I keep going on tangents.
No, but that's like this is real talks.
It's real talk.
It's what it's all about. Okay. So when I was asking myself, what am I doing? So what brought me to that more so was actually, so I grew up with my stepdad. I saw him as my dad. So like since I was 2, right? So I didn't know any other person but him. Um, so he passed away 2016, and so that before that, and like when he started to get sick, I was actually, I was already so like what was it? Thanksgiving break was coming,
Yes.
and so I was already in like reflection mode. I was like, okay, like I really need to figure out what I'm doing, and then that's when he started to get sick, and then I was like, oh, this is kind of serious, and then I was like, oh, this is the first time where it's like I don't get to focus on myself, and it was a weird thought to have, but it was a real one, and so I was like, I'm like, this is, and then the family dynamic was changing, and like I had to step up in certain areas, and all this stuff, and that kind of just snowballed, and just figuring things out. Still, I took a break from teaching, all that kind of stuff, right? So a lot of things I put on pause, got back into it, whatever. I had walked away from. Like I was dancing with Millie Vibes for a little bit, messing around with the EM, had my own crew, took breaks from a lot of things. And then 2017, I decided to stop teaching at all those places.
All together? Like, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you went from like 16 to 6 classes.
6, yeah.
That was that change there?
So that was a major change. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna focus on. And then also, because like the family was like, you know, like with this whole thing happening, like, what are you gonna do? Because you have to step up. Like, are you gonna go to school? Are you gonna, get a full-time job? What are you gonna? So then I started thinking about those things, and I was like, okay. So I did. I got like a regular part-time job while still teaching. When I say regular, I just mean not artistic in any way. It's completely different. And I was doing that. I got a lot of time to reflect. I was like, okay, it feels nice to just be away from people right now. So I got to be in that bubble for a few months. Got let go from that place. It was hard for me, and I was trying really hard every day, which is like a small thing in itself.
Yeah.
But I was also happy that I was let go at the time that I was.
It's funny how that happens, right? It comes full circle. It's like, really? You're letting me go? I don't have to show up to work tomorrow? Okay.
So, and she was really, really kind about it too.
That's good.
So I left that place, and I was like, set like a fire under me, and I just was determined to figure out like what's the next step. So I explored a little more. I got into like an agency, and I did a contract job. It was like a little quick Hannaford thing. I did it for like a month and a half, and I was like, it was almost like sales. I didn't have to actually sell anything. I was just promoting like an app that they launched. Yeah. I got to talk to so many people, and I got rejected so much. And I started to learn a little more about human behavior.
Yeah. Facts. So I was going to say that.
It was fascinating because I would walk up to people. There were like certain rules or like tips they'd give you to like how you should start a conversation or whatever. But it was really just like, it was like a sell, it was like a pitch. And I was like, I'm not into that. I don't think it works.
Yeah.
Right? So then I started trying different things and dealing with rejection. I'm like, okay, I have to get used to this rejection thing. Mind you, I'd say I'm more for sure introvert than anything, which is why that's the main reason for not going out to a lot of things. Yes. I do once in a while. But anyway, so I went through that whole process. I started changing up how I was speaking to people. Sometimes I would like see initially, like if I ask something or just have a conversation with people, I'm like, they think I'm gonna sell them something.
You can see it before like it happens.
Yeah. Like, wow, like this is how most people think.
That can be that same deal with like my online promotion stuff. Yeah. It's like I still like I have to sell myself.
Yes.
Right. It's my livelihood now, but I need to also convey my genuine character through it. So it's like, yes, I'm selling you something, but I want you to understand or believe that it has really strong value for you.
Yes. And
if I can get that across in my demeanor, my tone, whatever it is, it's a learning process. Like you said, you start to learn how people interact with different things. It can go a long way.
Yeah.
So
that's a good. I like that. Yeah. Because I was definitely just gonna get more into the online classes. Did I write that? I did. Okay. So I went through those experiences, and so fast forward 2018 February, I was like, okay, I was also considering. I was like for sure considering school because I was looking up. I was like, I want to do marketing because everything at the back end. I'm like, even the reason for starting SFC was just to help artists. I want to give them something.
Kind of like promote themselves in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like when people can connect the same way that like with Stack and Styles and how you guys have a relationship.
Yeah.
So like that, but like this.
Yeah.
With different art forms and all that stuff. So that's always like been the vision, and that kind of just has changed as I grew more into who I was or who I am. Brain fart. Oh, 2018. Okay.
Yeah,
so I asked myself, I was like, what do I want? And I was like, what do I tell other people? Right? So I went to that. I was like, what am I? Because people will come to me, or like I feel strongly about certain things, and I'll say certain things. And so I was like, what do I always tell other people? I was like, I live for, or I remember the conversations that I have with everyone. The accolades, I don't. But it's like it's fun, and I know what it did.
Mm-hmm.
But like
the conversation, you mean?
Yeah, like just having conversations with people.
Yep.
Because I would always tell people, it's like, because people, if they have like a skewed view or like all these different things, I'm like, it's fun achieving and like doing stuff and being the face. And then some people have like, they compare themselves to me in a negative way. They're like, oh, like, I'm not like that, and like I wish. Or,
I couldn't. Yeah. Like how can I stand up to?
Yeah, and I'm like, your
I'm
standards. Like, I don't live for that stuff. I'm like, I'm doing it because I feel like I feel like I have to. Not in a way where it's like stressful, but an obligation in a way like of service.
Yeah.
I'm like, the stuff that I really live for are the talks. And then I started reflecting on that, and I was like, when people call me, what do I do? And I was like if I was going about my day and you decide to give me a call, doesn't matter when, that literally becomes my priority, and I dive into that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, it could be a bad thing if you think about it.
Yes.
And I've learned how to better be prepared for those moments. But I was like, yeah, like I dive and I'm so committed to whatever that person may be calling me for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's it. That's the thing that I get lost in.
Yeah.
I love it. And I just never, because I was also in the mindset of like, I need to make sure that I can make a hustle or a career out of the thing that I like. So when I wrote off and never really thought about, well, maybe I could do that with talking. Or maybe I can go into a different career path, whatever. I just never thought about it like that. When I switched it up, and I was like, no, this is like, I enjoy this, and I need to do more of it because it makes me happy and makes me sing. Like, this is my life. Like, I love this, right?
You need that. And I think that's a real strength of people that are more introverted, is that they're able to absorb better. Because extroverts like to project. Like I did this personality thing at work once, and I can flip between extrovert and introvert pretty freely, which was unique. But I know when I'm like doing one or the other. Okay. I'm like in very certain modes.
Yeah.
But that's cool that you value people's time in their conversations, because you're probably doing a lot of absorbing of what they're saying, because you want to know what they're about.
Yeah.
And then you can turn that into a positive experience for them by really listening and giving feedback.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's dope.
Thank you. So that was a realization that I had, and in that moment, and because of the ambitions and everything, as like, that's something that's always been part of me for as long as I've known, like having ambition and just building stuff. So as soon as I made that whole thing and it felt really correct here, I started rebranding everything. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, the way that I'm talking to people, how I'm pitching things. I was like, this is what I like to do. This is what I enjoy doing, and I'm literally trying. Like, I'm gonna be a better friend, even a better listener. Cause people will come to me here and there for those things, but I was like, I'm just gonna make it known that this is like my thing. Like, I love this thing, and I'm gonna do it. And I'm doing it in a way that is non-conventional. So when people are like, hey, like, why don't you be a counselor, or like do this kind of therapy or whatever, and I'm like, the first thing is I don't want to go to school, but the other thing is that I also think about, well, this right now feels really organic to me. I talk a lot about intuition and doing what feels right. I used to go against that a lot because I wanted to get out of the comfort zone, which I still believe in.
Yep.
But I started to learn the difference.
That's that we were talking about, like
balance,
like approaching negative versus positive experiences. The negative ones are going to strengthen you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I still agree with that, and I still put myself in those positions.
Good.
I just operate from a place that's real, more real to me. So I put that first.
Dope. And people see it too,
yeah.
like in your branding. They see that like even everyone does like Instagram stories differently. It's like some like Elmer for one, he'll post like a kind of like stream of consciousness. But like when I read it, I'm like I'm reading Elmer. You know, like he's not just like writing this to write it. Like I actually feel like he's talking to me, and I get that same vibe from when you post your thoughts. Like it feels very, I don't want to say holistic. It just comes from a very like genuine place when I read it. So I want to remind you that it touches me in a certain way when I read it. I'm sure it does other people too, especially based on what some people were saying earlier. Yeah. So keep at it, man. Keep at it. Oh, Elmer said something else.
Detour. He said, I have to be at my family party. Last time we went to Black Market was cool because the old house had new gen rom. Okay.
That was the coolest thing. It's just like everyone was just sharing space regardless of where they came from or who they were. It was dope. Yeah, man. So you've been branding yourself.
Yes, definitely, and it just feels authentic. And another part of me that hits me, and this is something that I could actually give some insight to you for, something that I believe in. So
taking my notes.
I'll jump into that in like a second. So I started branding myself differently, and what I always think about and what hit me first was one of my friends. He can do hypnotism.
Wow.
He's pretty great. I'm there for some live sessions and we get to see what happens, and then we talk to the person to be like, okay, like what did you go through and like what has changed. So everything from like healing some physical pains to the most ridiculous thing that he's done recently was this girl she doesn't have like, she can't see through her peripherals.
Interesting.
So she's not allowed to drive. So she's always taking Ubers and stuff.
Okay.
So she can only see like this.
I've never heard of that.
Right, I've never heard of it either. And so we had a session with her, and now she can see.
No shit. That's dropping bombs. That's crazy.
Yeah, so he's great. He's phenomenal.
Has he ever hypnotized you?
No, because I'm not ready.
Right. You said or he said?
Me.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's cool. Cause there's two different types of people. Ones who are more willing to surrender.
Yeah.
Those who are like a little more.
You have to be vulnerable to that.
Vulnerability has to be like.
Oh man.
And so he's learning how to deal with more analytical people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there are methods for it.
Yes.
So he's legit and he's super cool. And there are people in his field who make a lot of money. And he wants to be in a position where he's able to do what he loves full time, obviously.
Yeah.
He's like, like this guy, like my mentor, literally like $5,000 a session for like an hour or two. He's like, someone drove up from here to go all the way to Canada and come back because the experience was that great. Yeah. And he's like, and then he gave advice to him and said like, you should charge $500 per session. And it was like, if you feel like that's too much, you should charge $250. And then I was like, to do that, besides having credibility and experience and all that stuff, then you have to find your clientele. That takes work, right? Yep. And then I started learning more about, I always dabble in business a little bit, and I kind of know what's going on in like the tech, consumer, sometimes pop culture. Like I like to kind of know what's going on. So to see like what's coming next. I'm not always knowing what it is, but I kind of have some foresight. So like early adopter of Uber and like Spotify and like YouTube froze a thing and like Twitch. So I was like early to all those things.
Yes.
So I was like, his vision was like, okay, if I start off like this and I'm only charging people this much, then I'll be at a place where like I can start charging. I'm worth this much per hour or whatever. Yeah. So I thought about that and I was like,
it's a mindset.
Yes, you need it, and like that's a positive thing. I have a different viewpoint when it comes to business and purpose. And so what my thought process behind that and going back into the talking and not going for traditional methods and stuff was that I always want to be available to people even when they don't have money. Because I understand.
You have something to offer.
Yes. And being in a position like this and then almost not like in a way competing, like I am competing in a similar field as certain types of therapists and stuff, and some people talk to me, it's like they have therapists and what I'm saying is either the same and or more valuable, or like, oh, it's weird because I went to this or I go to this counseling thing and it's like you're saying all the same stuff. I'm like, oh, it's crazy, I have no formal education in that, but that's really cool. But I just know that a lot of people don't think of therapy as like a first option. It's like it's a money thing, then there's stigma.
Yeah,
It's always
it's
that.
like, oh, am I going to be judged or people think I'm crazy if
all
I
that
get
stuff.
therapy? Yeah,
And
totally.
so being conscious of that and just knowing and seeing my friends and all this stuff and like whether it's really difficult times we're going through, suicidal people who are really low key about things, and then they come out and say it, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, why? Like, why? I ask all these questions, and they're not seeking therapy of any kind or whatever, and I'm like, and as someone who wants to serve in that field too, I try and do my part by giving community, like pulling people into communities that are healthy, hence like take Sean's class or whatever. It's, you know what I mean? Like that's important to really utilize your network, and if you think it's something that can help them. So whenever people come into my life, I always try to like move pieces around and be like, you know, you should go talk to this person because I'm pretty sure you're gonna relate to them, and because they're connected to me, and like there's the name, the value of the name, the brand of like, oh, if Vatan is recommending this, or if he says that this person
Yeah,
is
I've
whatever.
seen his success over here, here, and here, and he's helped
Yeah.
me before, so
Yes.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
So that is kind of that's what I'm doing. I'm helping people. I'm being that person, like an emotional punching bag is sometimes what I like to call it, and I'm totally like more than okay with that.
Right.
Like, I live for that. Um, but I just never want to reach a place where it's like, yeah, like I get paid $10,000 to speak or whatever, and then I never pay attention to like where I came from, even though my worth is important and I'm making money, or it's like, am I gonna do a free session with someone for an hour, or am I gonna go teach this workshop for like $500?
Right.
I want to be able to do both, um, because I understand what it's like to not the first like just not have money or whatever stigmas that exist currently.
Yep.
And if someone feels comfortable enough to me, I don't want to ever feel like I don't have time for them because they can't provide me financial value.
Right.
That.
And that's the important part of, like, it sounds like you're a very like value centered person where you there's the two clients, it's the $500 gig or the free session. And depending on how you operate from your values, you might say, you know what, we can push the $500 session next week. We could like shift this and it'll still happen. Because this person needs me right now, and like that's really important. So if you can operate from that value of, you know, what is most important like right now, you know, and can I function, like can I make that decision? It's easy to shift back and forth versus if you're like money value centered.
Yeah.
It's always going to be like, oh well, they don't have the money, like I
Yeah.
can't. But it's important, like you said, having the function to give someone for something for free or for affordability. And then there's also going to be people that have the money to support the bigger ventures. You know, finding that finding that niche where you can function in between, and that's been a challenge for me with like dance stuff. Like I'm increasing my class prices in February, and that was I mentioned my consultant earlier. She told me, she's like, you should be making $20 like per class per person. Like she's like, that's the value that you bring. Like she's like, you probably don't believe it. Because you see people that charge $5. You see people that charge, like I'm charging $10 to $12 right now because I thought, I'm like, that seems like a good value for what people are getting, but it's also competitive. And then I see, like, dude, and this isn't shade on like people that provide like affordable dance classes. That's very it's very generous. It's very courteous to have other people in mind. But like there are some people that they charge an arm and a leg for their classes, like $15 or $17 for a 1 hour class of like nothing. Like and I'm being a dance snob. Like there are classes that I would go to, and there's classes that I would have no business ever wanting to take. And I see that those people sometimes have big followings and charge a lot of money, and I'm like, man, I need to give back quality education. So it's only right if people need to invest money in the thing that I've invested like hundreds of hours and dollars and time resources into, like traveling to meet people. Just like I drove down to New York this week. Let me retract. I drove down to Connecticut to have a private session with someone that reached out to me. Her name's Fabiana, and It's like Connecticut. It's an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
But she's like, would you be willing to do it? I'm like, you know what? I want to see what you guys are about in Connecticut, so let's do it. And it was, we did 2 hours, and it was awesome. And I used that as an opportunity, since I was already in Connecticut, to drive further down to New York later that day to have a private session with one of my mentors, Sekou, who he's one of the dance fusion house dance pioneers from way long ago, but he's still teaching. He's teaching around the world, and I'm like, I'm investing that time and that money and my car miles and my body too. Like, it was not an easy session. I danced for a long time with Fabiana, and then Sekou put me through the ringer. I'm like, I'm investing that because I want to take that experience and give it back eventually, and make it a better experience because I went through that. So I think that sometimes as dance teachers, we can convince ourselves that other people want us to make our services free or cheap. Yeah. And that's true to some extent, but part of it comes from ourselves perpetuating that by making ourselves so available. Yeah. So it's like a double-sided sword. We're training people to want just $5 classes. Yeah. And again, like, that at its core is not a bad thing, but if that becomes the expectation, then it also hurts the people that are charging more. It's like, oh, that's an inferior class because I have to pay more for it. What? Yeah. So, there are things that I do give away for free. Yeah. That I've like, these are things that people should have access to regardless. And then there's things I'm like, this is stuff that if people want this next step, they have to invest a little bit more. If they want the next step, they have to invest a little bit more, because that's what I would expect if I was investing in myself. Right? It's not cheap to go to college, but you make an investment, and you want the work or job that you get afterwards to pay it back. Yeah. But you had to put that investment in first. Right?
I've thought about that too, pricing and classes and all that stuff. It is tough. It is really hard.
But it's a mindset. It is a mindset. Yeah. If you when you get over that little moment of inertia, that hump where you're like, okay, I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing it. Yep. And in my head, I'm like, all right, 2 people are going to show up to class that day when the prices go up. Like, I honestly don't. Someone actually said, they're like, you know what? I'm glad. One of my students, like, I'm glad your prices are going up because I think you're worth it. And like, when I see some of the other classes that get paid more, not that they don't deserve it. She's like, but I really value your class, so I'm glad that you're getting that investment back, or hope to be getting the investment back. We'll see. Yeah. Buy class cards, people. They're cheap. They are cheap through the end of January before they go up in price. So you can stockpile them and just dance with me all year or all life. Just saying. All life. SeanBjerke.com.
Okay, so then I was gonna get into the helpful stuff.
Word.
The stuff that. So I am value centric, and I'm also I'm moving at like snail pace. 115.
I would say like 115 to 120.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
So this is just like how I do things. So I'm free. That is my method. But I know that the value or the money will come in through how people feel about, like, you deserve more. Yeah. Drive donations, the numbers, sponsors, and ads. So I'm looking at that. And so when you can do the ads and the sponsors, like, yes, you're promoting something, and like, if your audience is receptive, then they're gonna dish out. So I'm really conscious of that too. So when it comes to sponsorship, like, it needs to be something I really believe in, because I know that I have to pull results. Yes. And that's gonna be money out of their pocket. So I would never just promote something trash, obviously. But those are my avenues for how I hope to do and build this whole thing. So I'm someone who, I don't want to be transactional. So I don't want to be a transaction-based business. I just want to, like, do this and just cruise.
Just cruise. Right? And like, people that come along for the ride, they're free to get on.
Yes. And so how I currently fund stuff are through Patreon and Twitch.
Yes. I don't know much about Twitch, but I know like Patreon, people can subscribe to what you do and pay a certain amount per month to get certain like content.
Perks, rewards,
Yeah, perks,
content, whatever
exactly.
you want. Yeah.
Exactly. Cool.
Is that something you're looking into?
There's a couple of YouTube blogs that I follow, and some of them mention how they go through Patreon, and I like looked it up. I'm like, that's like a cool idea that I might, when I have the bandwidth, I might look into it more. So maybe that's something I could pick your brain about.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah, if you want, for sure.
Yeah.
I think, and you said that you do give certain things for free.
That's the idea. Yeah, that's the idea. I'm like I mentioned how I'm doing, like I have my classes, and I'm also creating online classes for people that don't maybe see how I teach, or they don't have a reference point. I want to make some free content, you know, to post on YouTube. Like Jardy Santiago over in San Francisco, he kind of pioneered this in a sense for house dance online videos.
Does Thorn take from him?
Yeah, both of us do.
He talks to me about that.
Yeah, like Jardy started off with just making a bunch of free videos of different house steps back in like 2008, 2009. Just for his students, because the students were like, we can't remember everything we do in class. Can you post something? Yeah. And those things went viral. Like those things, people all over the world were like, oh, I can learn house dance now? Like in my living room? Holy crap. So he had that free content without even knowing that it was going to blow up, which led to him eventually doing weekly, monthly online classes. So that freebie got people to buy into what he was doing. They saw what quality they were getting, and then now he has a whole following of online students that like we interact with him too. He like makes himself available to talk to. We have a WhatsApp chat that we talk to him through. Okay. So stuff like that, you know, it doesn't take him a lot to just film himself doing something basic that people can use. And he's like, if you want to take this further, you can get my online classes for this amount. So he's like the pioneer for that. And people can throw shade. People that have more experience might be like, oh, he might not have a complete description of that step, or he's not really getting into the essence. But it's like, he's giving you something that you're not giving. Yeah. And if people really want to go down the rabbit hole, they can search for other resources. But he's giving it now, and he's doing it in a very genuine, honest way. So I'm like, he set the tone for that, and he made house dance a lot more popular, I think, because of it. People that buy into his stuff. So yeah, man, that's dope that you're doing kind of like you're approaching it in a similar way. Like you want to have the services and then have the ads paid. The man pay you back.
Yeah. So I would definitely for sure look into Patreon, and
cool.
How I see that is, so I know in the future what's going to happen is I have a selected amount of time that I give to people, and I feel like this will turn into more of, I mean, the original purpose was also like to offer if you like need help with something of any kind, right? And I think that will translate more in the future. And obviously I won't always be able to have time. We all are on the same amount of time.
I was about to say the same thing.
And I think that
waste of time.
Things will start being like someone will probably be like, hey, like I really need to talk to you or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, like you can, there's certain time slots that I have or whatever, wherever I'm at in my life. But I feel like when people start asking and understand the value, it'll be like, can I pay you like X amount? So there'll be like brackets and like
tiers.
Yes, tiers and stuff. Where it's like, okay, I'll always have this free service. The line might be a little longer, and then there's like paid where it's like it's more immediate. But I still try my best to get to everybody, you know, because these guys are really helping me thrive and survive, which people understand. And then the Patreon aspect is more of like the huge crowdfunding thing, you know. If people really believe in what I'm doing, then to buy into that and promote, support it monthly.
It's also kind of a nice like metric for you to be like, oh, a lot of people are valuing me at like a certain level. Yeah. But there are also people valuing me here and here. So it kind of tells you who your target audience is.
Yeah, it does. It helps a lot. And the Twitch thing helps too.
What's Twitch? I don't know anything about Twitch.
So it's a live streaming service, which we're streaming onto right now.
This is Twitch. Cool.
So yes, so this right here is Twitch, and some people kind of pop in, and I can tell you a little more about that. It's a live stream. It's probably the most mature and full featured live stream. I'd say YouTube is second. I don't use YouTube, but they've been in the game for a long time, and then they were acquired by Amazon.
Twitch was.
Yes.
Okay.
So I make some revenue here too.
Okay.
And they made it easier recently, so you could totally pull it off for sure. You have to reach affiliate status, which is not hard. You do have to put time, and
like anything that you want.
Yeah, time in the sense of like, so they have a certain minimum requirement of streaming time mixed with viewership. Like you have to maintain an average of 3 viewers. You have to stream this many days. So some level of consistency and put in X amount of hours. If you can do that, you become affiliate, and then you are in the game to start making money on Twitch natively. And that's a really good revenue stream. So I would think about just pushing live streaming more for sure.
Yeah. It's also a great way to engage people that you're not in front of, like you're doing right now.
So that's a great thing, and I really hope that you jump into that world.
Maybe we'll do a free Twitch online class at some point.
Something like that, and it can get people pumped. And it stays recorded.
Okay. So
you could use it as content, break it up
later on, and rebrand it or refurnish it. Yep.
Some people, like a lot of streamers, they stream for a long time. So it's primarily like for gamers, but there are different sections and like entertainment and stuff. So they'll stream forever, and then they usually have editors because they're really established or whatever, and then they turn that long clip into like different fragments of content and post it to YouTube.
I've seen stuff like that. I don't follow video game stuff, but sometimes I'll be like, oh, how do people play this game?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of useful like tutorials that people do.
Yeah.
Like, how do you beat this character? How do you get this item? And I'm like, some of it's like really, really good quality.
Yeah.
It's not just someone like sitting in the basement like, that's what they're doing. Yeah. But they show you the good part. That's dope. Yeah, I would love to hear more about that. We can definitely talk offline.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So, is there like on the same? Not since I have the idea in my head, is there anything that I can do to help you in any way?
I never really think about that part.
Yeah.
Because I'm just so in like the spirit of that. Whatever you feel authentically for yourself, or whatever your connection is to me, that's kind of just what it's always been. So some people now will regularly will push people to my Instagram, just be like, just follow him. Like, just trust me, just follow him, check out his stories, understand what I'm talking about. So I get more of that. So I get random people coming in. It's more frequent of like random messages, whether it's a good thing or like they're concerned and like, hey, can you talk to this person for me because they're kind of going through something. And so that's kind of where I'm at, where people are just kind of pushing. And like, I just made a stream a Facebook page and all this different stuff for the stream specifically, because I started to again reflect and be like, I need different channels for different things. And then my director actually started inviting mad people to like it. I didn't even like publish, like it's not super public or anything yet. I'm still building stuff, but I started getting all these likes and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And then she hit me and she's like, I did that. I just wanted to, because I really believe in what you're doing. So like when I say like it's authentic to certain people, like that. And that's so cool. I'm not really in, and I know it's like it's a normal and it's fair, like when bartering and like trading stuff, you know what I mean? Like, cause that's an initial response. And so what makes things easy for me is that I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. And I really believe, and I see it, and I don't just believe.
That's the thing. It's like a tangible thing that's happening.
It, right? And I'm like, it's important. I'm like, oh, this person has now become better or can deal with their emotions better, or they've rebuilt a relationship with their parents, like that hardcore. Like I go there with people, and I'm like, that's important. And now they're trying to figure out who they are because we've had talks and we've had experiences with each other, and a lot of sacrifice came with it, but they're happier now.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is important.
You like reached them where a lot of other people probably couldn't reach them.
Yeah. So to me, that's like, I'm supposed to do that and it's right. So I'm not gonna ask them for something because I don't need anything. I try to absorb from the conversation. So for me, this experience is an experience, and there is already you traded your time, and this is content. It's gonna help you. It's gonna help me.
It's gonna help other people too.
Yeah, like all these. So
one idea that just popped into my head, and I'm looking at the literal video and seeing like this space right here.
Yeah.
Is like maybe I could give you a free private lesson at some point, and we could live stream it, and people would also get the lesson too, in a sense, something like that.
Okay.
There I am. I'm looking at myself in the past, talking about what I just said. So it's funny, but this would be like a perfect space for it, and bring some music. We could do some moves, do some combos, and just have fun with it.
Okay.
For free. I do. You were talking about how time is a very valuable resource for anybody, and I teach private lessons that they're not cheap, but stuff like this, we've connected on so many levels today that I would love to give my time up, for you, because I know as a dancer, and also give people a kind of a portal into what the process is like.
Yeah.
So. If anyone's still watching and you're down with that idea, let us know. We can make it happen.
So again, I re-upload this stuff and then I turn it into audio.
Yep.
So because I brought up the idea and a lot of people were for it. I don't really want to have it open on my phone and just be stuck.
Yes.
So then I turned it into audio form so that this will be released. This will be up now.
Okay.
For a bit. So it lives on Twitch for 14 days and then it stays on Facebook for so and so.
Okay.
And I just re-upload. Do the tagging and drop all the links and whatever.
Dope.
And drop the audio file that people can download too.
Dope.
So I think we talked about a lot of cool stuff.
We did. Can I tell right before we're kind of at the end? I'm gonna tell you the secret of dance.
Okay.
The secret of dance.
The secret of dance.
And it's not even the dance. That's just the dance is the surface. But for me, what I've realized, especially this year, where I've had the privilege of dancing with so many groups and individuals and meeting so many people through that avenue. It's the connections we create. The real life interactions we have and the relationships we build and what those relationships turn into as far as the reciprocation. You might meet someone that through dance, and then your relationship with them is such a bigger thing. You meet their friends, you understand their livelihood, and it's really enriching. So, the moves are nice, the music is dope, and the physical experiences are fun, performing and whatnot. But that stuff is a moment in time. That has certain benefits, but it's the relationships that are those can be life lasting.
Yeah.
So I feel once people tap into that and they know that dance is going to connect them with people, bring it back to that socialness in 2018, soon to be 2019. We're going to get a lot more out of that experience. If we approach it like that, we're trying to really connect with that universal language, with different people. So that's the secret.
I agree.
That is the secret.
If you want to last second hardcore plug all your stuff, you can do that.
Sure. So I have a website, seanbjerke.com, SeanBjerke.com, where I have a lot of information on my personal services. So I'm teaching weekly dance classes at the Dance Complex in Central Square in Cambridge. Right now I'm teaching Sundays and Tuesdays. Starting in February, I'm going to be teaching Tuesdays at noon. I'm going to have a midday class. Thursdays 6 to 7:30. Sundays is going to stay 12 to 1:30. I have class cards available that you can pre-purchase until the end of January for really cheap, before those prices go up in February. I'm creating online classes that are going to be available January 25th. So if you pre-purchase them now, I think until tomorrow, people can purchase them and get a discount.
Okay.
For I think $22 for a module. And one module has an assortment of videos. It's over an hour of dance lessons. stuff that I don't normally get to talk about or cover in my classes.
Yeah.
So people can really tap in and really dive deep into some different techniques. So those are going to be available January 25th, but you can get them now, and you get them for cheaper if you do it by tomorrow. And that's all available on my website. And aside from that, I'm around. I'm Shizmatic, SHIZZ _MATIC on Instagram, and I kind of live on Instagram nowadays. So if you reach out to me through direct message, I'm usually pretty quick to respond. I think when you reached out to me about this, I was like, let's do it. Let's set up a date. And then I'm on Facebook. I have an email list. You can find all that through Instagram. Instagram is amazing, so that's why I like to live there.
Yeah, same.
But I think that's pretty much it. Okay. I'm sure I missed some stuff, but if you want the information, you'll find it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah, we got to bounce. It's 1:24.
Yeah, man. I'm on my way to a photo shoot, concept artist photo shoot. Yeah, that's why I'm like dressed kind of funny. I'm rocking these Akuma beads.
Those are tight.
Yeah, I got these at that Stacks event I was talking about.
I heard, and I saw some photos, and I was like, oh shoot. Now I can see the person there.
Yeah.
Really cool.
The dude that sold them, he's a crumper, and Stacks actually called him out to do a crump solo. And after he did his crump solo, a bunch of people went over to his table and bought his beads. And I was like, that's great. That's your marketing strategy. Free crump, buy the beads. This is fun, man.
Yeah,
This is really cool.